What's up, class? Evans here. Today we're going to assemble the entire train together. There's a few steps we need to do before any of that can happen. You need to make sure that you have the correct names and you have all of your parts materials. To find that, make sure that you start off with this page here and you have all the names and materials. Now, one thing that I've left out of my videos is naming them correctly. So you might need to go and fix that. Your train assembly together should look like this. But if you were to bring in your parts, to my surprise, all the parts would come in labeled as part 1. Now, why that happens is, well, you think it should come in with the name you gave it. Like, for instance, smokestack, which I have here, is labeled as part 1. All the other ones have names because I've went and changed them, but this one I saved towards the end. If I go click on smokestack, it still says part 1 here. This is the area where you right click and you would edit appearance or edit material. But go up 2 more times and see the word rename and then type in the actual name. Now this is going to help you out as you assemble it. But more importantly, it becomes extremely important when we go to the drawing pages. You're going to have all the parts called out and it's going to put part 1 for everything, and you need it to give the actual name and then the actual material it has. So make sure that you pause this video and go get every single one of your parts with the correct name and the correct material according to the parts list that you have. So first, I prefer to start by making a whole new part. And you can call it miniature train or toy train, whatever you want, with your class period and your initials. And I jump straight over to assembly. If you look down here in the tab, there's an assembly tab. To begin, you press insert, and we're going to bring in our train body, and I'm going to click to place it. Now yours will bring up a statement. And let me just show you real quick. So stop and just watch. Yours will come up looking like this, where it says create a version of that. And then you'll click it and then hit create. And then it will allow you to bring in your part. You just click on it and place it. But let me go back to where my train body is, because that's where I need to be. And once you click and place it, then you hit the check mark. Looks like I accidentally brought it in twice. This next step is incredibly important. Click on it here and right click and go to fix. This keeps it in place in the correct orientation that you want. It puts it in exactly where you need it to be. Make sure you do this step first. If you don't, it's going to mess up your orientation completely. So I have that fixed. Now I'm going to insert my wheels. Now for each one that I'm bringing in, this isn't the first time I've done it, but all your new parts is going to ask you the same thing about creating a version, and that's what you'll do each time. I need 4 wheels, so I'm going to bring in my 4 wheels. Notice that all the names are on the side, so if they're not coming in, that means you forgot to name it. Hit the check mark. Now, to get these connected together, the wheel is connected by the axle peg and it's allowed to rotate. So I want to fix it to the train where it still can spin. And to do that, I'm going to use the Revolute Mate. So I'm going to click right on the circle where the peg goes. And I'm going to move my orientation to see the back of this. And I'm going to click right here. So I'm clicking on the back circle of the wheel, and if you notice, it put it backwards for whatever reason, so I'm going to flip it and put it in place. So just in case you couldn't see that, I'll do another one, and then I'll fast forward. Click here, and then click here. And if it puts it backwards, just press the flip button, which you can get there or here, and just flip the orientation it is, and then press the check mark. And if you notice, all the wheels, I'm going to hit X here because I don't need to make another one. All the wheels have the ability to spin. And now I'm going to bring in my axle. And you're doing the exact same thing. Revolute mate. Click right on the outside here and get to the base of the peg. If it flips it like it seems to like to do, just click the flip button and then it's good. And technically this one can rotate too, just like the wheel. So I'll fast forward that because you don't need to see me do that 100 times. This next one, I'll bring in the linkage arms. And these connectors are pretty important. If you got the dimensions wrong, it's going to give you some problems here. I'm going to do the revolute mate, and I'm going to click this side, and I want to get the outside here, and it needs to be sitting on correctly. It looks like it is. Hit the check mark. Now it looks like it's all lined up, but it's not because this is technically not connected to it, but this one is. So I'm going to revolute mate, and I'm going to click both the outsides here and here, and sometimes it moves weirdly. So I'm going to be able to rotate them together. Now what sometimes happens is they get out of sync, so one way to keep them from catty corner bending is to do a parallel mate. So I'm going to click parallel mate, and I'm going to mate the bottom of the train to the bottom here. Might have to zoom in for that. The bottom of the linkage arm, and I'm going to hit OK. And what that does is to make sure that that is always parallel to the base and it never like turns weird and gets stuck. So now repeat it on the other side. And you always got to check to make sure that it's working correctly. Looks good. Now I need to insert the magnet. Let's see here. Oh no, let's do the linkage pegs. I'm going to use the slider. I'm sorry, not slider. Revolute. And you want to get the base of it here. Oh, I did it backwards. And do that for each side. Now we just have 4 more parts to install. So I'm going to insert my cow catcher. I'm going to insert my smokestack. I guess it wants me to create a second version. I'll do that real quick. So I'm going to rush through and put these all together. You're using the same thing that we've been using. Oops. Apparently I put more than one. Make sure it's facing the correct way. I'm going to use a fashion mate for that peg because that one doesn't need to spin. If they're spinning, you use the revolute. If they're not spinning, then you use the fasten. And that should act about the same. It just won't spin any. Last one, and that is this cow catcher. So the first thing I want to do with that one is I want to revolute mate. I'm going to get the top one here. And get that base. Make sure it's facing the right way. And there's no gap. You want to make sure there's no gap in between there, so that looks good. Now you might look at it and think like, oh great, I'm done. And you won't, because it can still spin, because remember it's a revolute, so it can still spin within there. To stop that from spinning, the best way to fix that I have found is either attach one more peg, which is kind of hard to pull off. The fastest thing is to do a parallel mate. So I'm going to do a parallel mate to get the base here, the base of the cow catcher, and the base of the train assembly. And it moves it weirdly, and then I'm just going to hit the check mark, and it puts it back in place. So that is how you get your entire train assembled. We have the ability to move the wheels around, and we got everything fastened together. And if any of your names are off, you can refresh them by clicking this, by the way. I don't know why it wasn't updated. If you are missing issues with the names and you need things updated, check out my short video next door to it on Canvas, and you can update it there, and it shows you exactly what to do in about 1.5 minutes. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. If you're done, call me over and I'll check it. If not, you can upload a shareable link to me. Not a read only, but one that has my email attached to it, so I can grade it at my own desk. Thank you. Bye.